Welcome to the Stiletto Room, the unfiltered chat show where no topic is off limits. I'm Dina LaPolt, entertainment attorney, advocate, and tenacious trailblazer. Each week, I sit down with creative visionaries, iconic disruptors, and unapologetic originals to dive deep into work, life, love, LGBTQ plus journeys, social justice, and everything in between. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's get real. Because baby, this is the Stiletto Room. Hi, I'm Dina LaPolt, and welcome to the Stiletto Room. As you know, I have two very special guests today, Kay Hanley and Michelle Lewis. As you all know, that I started Songwriters of North America with them 10 years ago.
Woo-hoo! 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Incredible story, which we're going to tell you about, but first I got to tell you about these amazing women. So they are songwriters, and they are very successful songwriters. Michelle Lewis has written some hits for Cher, Little Mix, Andra Day. Kay Hanley was in a very popular band in the 90s called Letters To Cleo, wrote and performed one of my favorite songs, Here and Now. And they met and they became writing partners on a show on Nickelodeon, correct?
Disney.
Mm-hmm. Disney. And they are songwriting partners, and then they were connected, and I have a history with them because Kay and I go to meetings together.
We do.
So we are both sober. I
thought you meant the Wicca meetings that we go to.
Oh, what a Wicca.
It's a witch meeting.
Oh, yeah, we do that too. No, she's kidding. We're going to have all these MAGA people coming out.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah. No, so I forgot to ask you, we're okay to talk about sobriety, right?
All the worst things I've ever done are pretty publicly drunk and and out in the open. So I don't think anyone would be like, oh my God, I can't believe she stopped drinking.
They're so grateful. So Kay and I have a mutual friend in the rooms of recovery. And one day at my friend's house, she says, would you be interested in talking to Kay Hanley, who I go to meetings with? And she has some questions about the stuff that's happening to songwriters. And I know you're involved in all this copyright stuff in Washington, D.C., and how the songwriters are not getting paid. I said, the Kay Hanley? Like, here and now, here. And she's like, yeah, she's one of my closest friends. I said, oh, my God. I hope I'm not a fangirl around Kay Hanley. Anyway, she put us in touch, and Kay and I was a fangirl. It was kind of creepy.
You weren't, though, that day, because it was kind of like friends and family that day.
Okay.
It was like, I think we were watching a football game, and your babies were like toddlers, and like you had two brand new babies. You were not in any, if you were fangirling, it was not coming through the mom trance.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you. But I was fangirling. So basically, Kay was telling me about Michelle. And then you two, please tell us how you met. I'd like to know that first before we talk about coming into my office.
Okay. How we met?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the two of us met. Michelle I moved to LA in 2003.
And I had moved in 2002.
Yeah. And so when I got here, Michelle was working with my friend Nina Gordon from Veruca Salt on this project that was what was the name of
Columbia?
the
It was Lee Dene at Columbia,
at Columbia Records. And they were working with my other friend Tracy Bonham. And so they were like doing like
John
a
Bonham's
supergroup.
daughter.
No. Tracy Bonham is she is a songwriter from, you would remember her from Mother.
Oh yeah.
I'm bleeding to death. Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's a
That
great
one.
song. It's a great song.
And I love Veruca Salt, but go ahead.
I mean, who doesn't?
Right.
So it was kind of like a super group of like chick singer-songwriters from the 90s. 4 years later, it was like 2002 that it started coming together. And yeah, so I moved here, and what's funny is that is that Kay and I were on the same record label as artists. So we were both signed to.
We both were signed to Uncle Irving.
Both
over
signed
at
to
Giant
Irving as
Records.
a Giant. Yeah.
And our husbands went.
To Berkeley School of Music together.
Oh,
So
you guys
we were
are
just
so
like
creepy.
missed connections for like 35 years, you know. And I'm Boston, you're New York, and so when just as I was moving out, Tracy had to leave to go
On tour with Blue Man Group.
Right. So Nina was like, well, my friend Kay is moving out here. We should invite her. And you were like, okay.
Yeah.
And then we met at Earth Cafe in West Hollywood
Oh
for
my
the
God.
first time, the three of us.
Wow, right.
You were. I remember because you were 20 minutes late. And I was shocked. I was just like, who's 20 minutes? And then I realized Michelle is, now that I've known her for 20 years. But she's rubbed off on me. Now I'm 20 minutes late all the time.
And I'm never fucking late, okay?
I know.
You know.
You're not late because you got places, you got stuff to do, places to be.
Time's money.
So when I met you guys, when I met Kay, we were in the middle, if you guys remember, just to let the audience know, all of songwriters' royalties in America are regulated by the government.
Wait, I feel like we need to back up before you start with this because this is what happened. Michelle and I got, I got on the phone with, or somebody made the.
Wait, let's back up even further.
Okay. Oh yes.
Kay and I got we're in a band.
Write an animation.
Right.
We're
writing. We write together. We were writing pop music, and then we got this job writing music for the show Doc McStuffins.
That's right.
Right.
And it was our first series together.
Our first series together. First time ever doing children's music for me. I'd never done anything like that.
We don't write children's music, by the way.
So right. So anything in like kids and family, I'd never done anything before, but we get this job doing all the music for this series. That was brand new at the time. Doc McStuffins has gone on to like win all these things and be this huge thing. But at the time, no one knew what it was. Neither did we. We do all this. We're holed up in this very like deadline-y, very like fast moving, busy job all of a sudden. And so I don't know about you, but like I'm in a bubble of writing, just trying to hit these deadlines and keep this job. I emerge like between seasons 1 and season 2, and I go back to pop writing. I start writing, doing sessions and writing for cuts again. And one of the songs I wrote was a song that got cut by Little Mix.
Right.
A song called Wings.
The best song you can spin to.
It's a good spin song.
Yeah.
It's a good dance song, generally.
So then I write the song, it gets cut.
Right.
We go back into season 2, and I'm not really thinking about anything regarding pop music. Then the song becomes a hit. I am like, okay, this is cool. It's going to be interesting seeing what happens with the royalties of this. And I get my first statement from, with the royalties of now that the song has been out, thinking like this is going to be good. And it was one of those like sad trombone moments where I turn to the end to see like what Wings had made.
Mix.
Yeah, exactly. Because it got synced within an inch of its life, and it was on all the shows,
It was
whatever.
on all like YouTube and
right. Dancing with the Stars,
everywhere
zillions of YouTube streams. And so I remember specifically from YouTube, actually, the views was like in the billions or whatever, really high. And I made $4.78. Right.
And we were like, that doesn't seem good.
I go to Kay. I tell her what's going on. She checks her statements. Then, we have all these friends who do the same thing. Shelley Piken, Pam Shane, Cara Diaguardi, big top line writers, huge songwriters with huge hits, but also who've had hits in like the early 2000s. So you can, and then
you can A/B them.
You can go apples to apples of what a hit was worth in 2004 versus 2014 or 2015 at the time. So it was 2015, and we're all like, yeah, what the, like we're all looking at these numbers. So that's when Kay made the connection between what we were doing.
What we were talking about.
And
we heard about this lawyer who was
from Brendan
first.
Brendan O'Cree,
and then I met
who worked
you
at
the thing.
ASCAP.
Right. So
and
Brendan told us about you, and then you met. Right.
And
then you
then
guys
I met you.
Right.
And then we set up an appointment to go to your office, and you opened in this building.
Yeah.
In this
and
building.
Right down
9,000 Sunset.
Yes, which is just so baller. But I'll never get over it. But So we walk into your office and you open the door. You don't even say hi.
Nope.
You just say, where the fuck have you bitches been?
been?
They're eating you for lunch.
They've been eating your lunch.
Yeah. Oh, they're eating your lunch. You're the first songwriters to ever come to my office. Why?
Where
Don't
the
you guys
fuck-
know anything? I've been in Washington, D.C. for a year now. And we're just like, oh my God, what?
Tell us more.
Yeah,
my
and then you were
God.
like, then you told us about. So I think this is where you were
This is
starting.
where you said,
That's
yeah, yeah.
consent decrees.
So at the time, okay, their government decrees were placed over the two largest performing rights societies in America in the 1940s.
yes,
So in the 1940s, these government decrees were put over ASCAP and BMI to regulate their behaviors as a response to antitrust claims. So these consent decrees that have been in place now for 80 some odd years inadvertently affect the songwriter's income. So in 2014, ASCAP and BMI said we need to go to the Department of Justice and have them relook at these consent decrees because now the music is moving to a digital realm and is no longer being physical sales the way it was with CDs and vinyl. It's all streaming. And the Department of Justice said, yes, we'll look at it.
Right.
So what happened is I was working with some prominent people that were involved with me in Washington, like Paul Williams, big songwriter, wrote Rainbow Connection, who's now chairman of the board of
couple two-tree
ASCAP.
hits.
Yeah, tons of songs. And Steven Tyler, and we were going to Washington talking to politicians about copyright and the things that need to be done. So when I was all involved in this, so when Michelle and Kay came to my office, I said, where the fuck have you bitches been? And I explained to them what was happening with the DOJ. So for 2 hours, we sat in my office and I went through all
And
the
you schooled
hearings,
us.
schooled them. And they said to me, can we bring some of our friends?
Can we
to
tell our
another-
friends?
to another meeting with you? And I said, yes, that would be awesome. And they leave for that day.
Wait, you're like, how many?
No, you
Oh,
called me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because you go, I go, oh, how many? I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
how many? You go, probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
6 or 7 friends. I go, sure. That night, Michelle calls me and she says, we're going to need a bigger room. Right? And I said, well, how many do you have? And she said, like
100.
100. I said, wait, what? So I was like, what the fuck are we going to do?
Called Daryl Friedman.
Well, I first called Jay Cooper.
Right.
Right.
Jay Cooper, who's a legend in the music business. He's throughout my
He's
book.
like your mentor.
One of my mentors, Jay Cooper, for sure,
Right.
is a huge music lawyer, represents Katy Perry and a ton of other people, but started out as a musician playing for artists like Frank Sinatra.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, he was a horn player.
Oh.
Toured all over
He
the world.
really is
Oh.
sort of like, he did
He
take the
is.
ride.
He's the 80-something version of Dina LaPolt.
Amazing.
And male. 80-something male version of Dina
Well,
LaPolt.
you do
Straight
have a-
male.
You do
80s
have a dick.
Well, I do have a dick. Yeah, it is. And it's a big one.
Yes.
course
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, very
mean,
big. Anyway, but we digress.
Right.
Moving
Different
on.
podcast.
So I called Jay Cooper, who's one of my mentors, and I say, because he was involved with the consent decrees, the whole thing that we were doing, the government decrees. And I said, the songwriters came to my office. They need a bigger room. There's like 100 of them. And he's like, well, let's call the Recording Academy. Maybe they could rent us a huge space. So we called Daryl Friedman at the time, who was running policy for the Recording Academy, who puts on the Grammys every year. And they rented for us
United Audio.
United
which was
Audio.
the old Ocean Way.
Ocean Way
Which
Studios.
is where I have, oh my gosh, what
Recorded
a
men.
legendary recording studio.
Legendary.
Back when we used to make records
Right.
with budgets in
Right.
recording
Who
studios.
are some of the artists that record there?
Letters to Cleo.
Letters to Cleo.
But we recorded,
Yeah.
but like,
Sinatra recorded.
I mean,
Yeah,
At
huge.
the-
and we were
early-
the, and
Bill
like
Withers,
a ton
Ain't No
of,
Sunshine.
and a ton of like every movie that has any sort of like song and dance number
Right.
was recorded there, and we ran into Paul McCartney was recording there once when we were recording. Rick Rubin was there recording the Cars. one time.
Legendary
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
place.
No, Rick Rubin was recording AC/DC.
Wow.
And then another time I was there, Rick Ocasek was recording a young up-and-coming band called Weezer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Legendary recording studio.
Yes.
So they rent us the huge room at what used to be called the Ocean Way Studios. And I have all my students from the UCLA class because I taught a music business class at UCLA. And I had my students at UCLA volunteer to be the people handing out my handouts about the government decrees that are...
Oh my God, it was a huge hand.
Exactly.
You put them to work, Dina.
Oh my God.
Wait, and what about Jumbo Letter?
Oh, and we wrote a
Right.
letter to the Justice
Department
Department
of
from the
Justice.
songwriters. Like,
Yeah.
and little did you know, Dina, that you were dealing with like A students. Like we want to get an A in the class. We are gonna like do all the things to like make sure that we're a teacher's pet. So we like got 100 people and we wrote a letter to the Justice Department, and one of our members went and got the
went to the
letter put
Kinko's.
on like a giant
Jumbotron.
which I still am carrying around to this day. It's still in my house.
I know.
And when we bought our house and we were moving in January, Clay was just like, "Are we fucking taking this thing?" And I was like, I can't. I keep meaning to like just like hide it in Michelle's like garage or whatever. And yeah.
But yeah, so they print this huge letter, and I remember because they said, "Okay, Dina, the same thing that you told us in the office, you have to tell to everybody." I go, "No problem." I remember I get up there with the overhead with my handouts, and you have the big jumbotron, and you put my notes up on the jumbotron.
Oh my God.
And there's literally over 100 of the most prominent songwriters in America. And I remember my hand was shaking.
Really?
Girl, I look out and I see
Holly Knight?
who wrote all those Aerosmith songs.
Yeah. And
Saida
Pat Benatar.
Garrett,
Yeah,
who
Saida.
wrote Man in the Mirror, who's now my client and who wrote the theme
Crazy.
song to the Stiletto Room.
Amazing.
I mean, this is how the world works, you
Yeah.
know? But my hand was shaking. Look at these huge songwriters. Shelley Peiken,
Yep.
who wrote Bitch by Meredith Brooks, and Pam
And
Shane.
who wrote Genie in a Bottle.
Genie in a Bottle. And my
Yeah.
hand is
Evan
shaking.
Bogart.
Looking at these. Evan Bogart.
Halo.
I mean, I was
That's
like,
right.
oh my God. So I'm going through about the consent decrees and how we need to do all this work, and we have to convince the United States government to change them. And anyway, long story short, I was like, they're like, yeah, we're in. And I knew from being in Washington that we needed a group. Like it can't, because before it was just like Dina LaPolt fighting in Washington and bringing people like Eddie Money and Steven Tyler, and we're fighting. And now it's like, what I realize is that everybody has a group.
Yeah.
You know, the National Songwriters Association, you know, the RIAA, which is the Recording Industry of America, the NMPA, which is the National Music Publishers. We need a name with a great acronym.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Kay thought of the name.
No, I did not think of the name. I thought of the first name, which
What
was
was
the Los Angeles Brain Trust.
The lab.
So it was the lab.
yeah, and
it was the Song Lab.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Thank God you didn't
That's
tell me.
what's on our letter to the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
lab.
like
The Song Lab.
Song Lab.
So who thought of SONA?
it was
Adam Dorn.
Adam.
we all were.
Shout out.
Yeah.
We all were.
We got together.
had
We
a
had
bunch
we
of
had a
names,
session.
like-
We had a workshop session at headquarters at
Wow.
Adam and Shelley's house.
Yeah.
Where a bunch of we're
which
songwriters.
is where we had coffee and bagels
Exactly.
once
Yeah.
a week
Exactly.
to talk
Just-
shop.
Exactly.
There were
And
nine original, we call them SONA OGs.
the SONA OGs.
Yeah.
And
Big songwriters.
Exactly. Big songwriters in the room figuring out and composers too.
And composers, yeah.
AG
Gorgoni.
and
Yeah.
Adam Gorgoni and Dorn are both
Yeah.
composers. And we just workshopped a bunch of different acronyms. And SONA, like we love
Songwriters of North America,
Yeah.
SONA.
Just came out
So
of the
they
thing.
call me. I don't even know this story, by the way. All I know is Michelle and Kay call me and they go, we got the name, Songwriters of North America, SONA. I go, great. We need to form a 501c6. And Michelle goes, what is that? I go, She goes, we're going to do a 501c3 nonprofit. And we hired a corporate lawyer. I said, please, we're songwriters. They're poor. we're getting emasculated with our
Right.
royalties. I'm doing this pro bono as a lawyer.
Yep.
You need to do, and they go, we'll do it too pro bono.
Amazing.
And you don't need a 501c3. I said, we don't. It's a nonprofit. And they go,
you can't lobby.
right, but you can't
Right.
lobby. And I go, wait,
Right.
there's a yes, a 501c6 is the one you can lobby
That's a
And
trade
have
association.
membership.
And have
and
members.
have a membership.
Right.
I said, wow, this is so fascinating.
So we learned a whole new thing.
a whole new thing.
Exactly.
And we formed this 501c6
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, do whatever we do. And we're now officially a group.
Yep.
And we revised the letter and and you guys had some fancy creator make a good logo for us back then. And we fire off that letter to the Department of Justice and they suddenly want to meet with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
They want to meet with us.
Renata Hesse.
Yes.
The head of the
That's
investigation.
right.
Oh, yeah. we
Straight
sued
from
that.
Google.
Oh,
wow,
that's
yeah.
another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so long story short, we'll get to it.
Yep.
So we
Yeah.
start meeting with them in Washington, explaining the plight of songwriters.
Yes.
Thinking like they hear us, they're being empathetic. This is happening. They're asking us poignant questions, and this is amazing.
Right.
Until we wake up one day to a mandate that was put out
Right.
overnight,
Was that 100%?
100% licensing.
Oh my God. I
So right now, the way it works is there's the two biggest performing rights societies, ASCAP and BMI. Both songwriters are members of either one, and they
Right.
could be members of SOCAN or they could be members of GMR now, but the big ones are ASCAP and BMI. They take anybody
They have to take anybody because of the
have to.
consent decrees.
because they have to.
And that's like, this is part of our consent decree, is
Yes.
they have to take everyone, and we as songwriters can't say no.
Right.
So if someone wants to license our work,
We don't have
we
the
don't
no.
have
it's
the.
a,
It's
it's
like
a
the artist has
compulsory-
the ability to say
right.
no,
But this is
but
a
the
compulsory
songwriter
license.
Cannot. This
So,
is
and
why.
so these are all these consent
Regulation.
decrees. Like, our industry has grown up around having all of these rules of the road in place that have been there since 1939 and 1942.
Yep.
And we are still operating this way, but now they're like, and we explain this to the Department of Justice, like all of these rules that we have, and so they decide to give us, not to strip any rules away or to make it easier, but to give us another one,
Yeah.
which
Yes,
is like
another rule.
like right now, if someone wants to license a song, and one of the writers is at ASCAP, the other is at BMI, you have to license from each
Both of
of
them.
those places.
Yeah.
And this Renata Hesse's
100%
office said that
crazy.
like either one could, like, if the song is if the two writers, let's say that there's two writers, are represented by ASCAP and BMI, that the licensee should
Just pick one.
should just pick one, and then they can license 100% of the song, even
from
though
they
Yeah.
have no writer information from the
On
other
the other-
No
performance
contact with
society.
the other person.
And then like a songwriter that now has to be in charge of
accounting to their co-writer.
right, which is
Horrible.
crazy.
Yeah. Crazy.
So this is, and it sounds complicated, but at the end of the day,
is.
it really wasn't. The bottom line is it would have emasculated the songwriting community. Because imagine writing with someone who's a member of the different performance society, and when Spotify or Pandora or iHeartRadio is licensing that song, meaning it's a compulsory license, so you can't say no, they're just going to pay for the license and get the license. They say, we're not going to the other performance society, we'll just pick this one. And then the writers of that society has to pay the other songwriters.
Exactly, and it was a horrible thing for GMR and CSAC because it would have lumped
Yeah.
them into
Right.
the
Yeah.
Into the
consent decrees, into
clusterfuck.
the clusterfuck. So
CSAC, that's what I was
Right.
thinking of.
So we I remember sitting at my table and being like, we should sue them.
So
Oh my
this
God.
is the great.
And so this is where me and Michelle are like different people, because I was like, I'm not, and she's like, now she's got a boner for like, I want to sue the Department of Justice. I want to sue, and I'm like, I don't really fucking want to. Like, what? Why? And so, like, you're on a war path, and I'm like, why? And you were like, I want the headline.
So Michelle
I
calls
do.
me.
I want the headline.
like,
Songwriters sue the Department.
Department
But
of
she
Justice.
calls
And
me
she got
and
it.
she says, we are in a massive fight at we are at Shelley's house and we're all fighting. I said, why are you all fighting? She goes, because half of us want to sue the Department of Justice and half of us are don't want to sue. I said, well, that's a great idea. So I'm like, wait, let me think about this. I was like, sue the Department of Justice. She's like, yeah, because of these consent decrees. I go, wait, this is brilliant. Michelle, the songwriters are third-party beneficiaries of consent decrees that are unlawfully robbing you of your constitutional right to your personal property.
Yay!
This is some kind of lawsuit situation. I said, you guys need...
And
I
now
remember spilling my
Dina
Diet
and
Coke at that
Michelle
point.
have formed like a truly unholy alliance. And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. What is actually happening right now? And you two are like... So, like a dog with a fucking bone.
Yeah. She was like, yes. I said, there's got to be some kind of constitutional violation here. I go, okay, let me get on it. I got to find us a litigator, but I got to find one for free.
Exactly.
So Michelle's like, okay, let me deal with the hot mess that's over here, you know, because we're all fighting. And I said, let me go look for a litigator. So I literally send an email to like, an email to like 40 of my colleagues about, you know, the whole thing, and please, can I have a litigator that would be nonprofit? You know, of course, nobody emails me back. Mm-hmm. But one of my colleagues, God bless him, calls me up and says, there's a guy in Century City that wants to get into representing creators. And I don't really know him. I've been across the table from him. He seems like he knows what he's doing. I forwarded him your email. He wants to talk to you. So I call him. His name's Jerry Fox.
Right.
He's like, he goes, I read your email, and I do believe there's a constitutional violation here. The songwriters being third-party beneficiaries of these government decrees that were entered into 75 years ago.
Before any of us were born, right?
Yeah.
Before any, and you guys, you know, and it robs them of their property rights. And he's like, can you guys, I would want to take the case. I said, okay, great. He goes, I said, can we come meet with you? Because I know our membership, our board is bifurcated. Half of you want to sue, half of you don't. So I hang up with Jerry Fox. I said, we'll make an appointment, and we bring everybody. The naysayers even. Kay, Shelley.
Yes.
Some of you didn't
I think
want
it was really just me.
No, Shelley didn't want to sue.
Shelley didn't want to?
No. Brendan didn't, because she worked at ASCAP.
Oh,
Right.
And they were telling Brendan at work, the fucking songwriters are nuts. Please don't sue. So here is the biggest issue. That ASCAP and BMI were not supportive of the songwriters suing the Department of Justice. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember, they wanted to legislate the issue, and they did want to file their own lawsuit. But because they're bound to these government decrees, they had to get permission from their federal rate court judge before they could file a lawsuit against the government.
Oh my God.
I was like, what kind of crazy shit is this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to get permission to sue. Oh, may I sue, please? No, forget that. Mm-mm. So everybody was calling me. The general counsel from ASCAP, begging me not to sue.
Kim? What's her name?
It wasn't
Claire,
Claire.
no, it wasn't
Claire.
Claire Kim.
No.
It was outside counsel. Well, Stu Rosen
Yeah,
called me,
Stu.
and then there was outside counsel. They called me. Everybody was upset. And then if you remember, one of the people that I had met in my testimony, my copyright testimony when I went to Washington with Stephen a year before, was the general counsel of the United States Copyright Office,
Jacqueline Charles.
who at the time was writing,
my God, that's
was in charge of writing the 1,100-page licensing memo to Congress, what the Copyright Office was advising them to do in the digital space. We have breakfast. At breakfast, I tell her what SONA's doing. We're filing a lawsuit in the morning, and she freaks out.
Oh my God.
Remember? She goes, I need to read this complaint. Like, you can't just sue the Department of Justice. And so, good thing. We send her the complaint, and she says, we need to make adjustments. You have to also sue on administrative claims.
Right.
Oh.
Because otherwise we would have ended up at the wrong court.
Right.
We would have ended up at the wrong court.
Right.
And she's like, you would have lost your head. And she practices in D.C.
Right.
So she knew.
She knew. She goes, we need to allege administrative claims as well. This is why ASCAP and BMI are yelling at you, telling you not to sue.
Right.
Because this... So thank God she revised the whole complaint,
Yeah.
became SONA's co-counsel.
Yep.
And then we filed that damn complaint against, and we sued that bitch Renata too, the woman in charge at the DOJ.
Yes.
Sued her too.
And guess who won?
Yeah, the
guess who got her
songwriters have arrived.
headline?
And here's what I want to tell you about how amazing this was. Because in my book, Street Smart, I talk about not listening to anybody and following your instincts. Follow your instincts. And we knew down deep inside it was the right thing to do. And everybody, huge people, were telling us, do not sue. Huge people. Okay? And Paul Williams, who's the chairman of the board of ASCAP, who's one of the biggest songwriters America has ever produced, writing songs for the Carpenters and huge people. Barbara Streisand, Evergreen. He co-wrote that song. Right. He's stressing out, saying don't sue because ASCAP was saying don't sue and BMI was saying don't sue. And we knew it was the right thing to do, and we went against the grain, and we did it. And, here's the thing. What that did for us is it put us on the map in Washington, D.C. Because, everybody, for the listeners that are watching this podcast, what you don't understand, and I'm going to tell you right now, is all copyrights and all trademarks, okay? Copyrights and trademarks are intellectual property rights, and all of the laws are federal. So even though we're in the music business, we got tattoos and we're doing our thing, all of our laws are federal laws. So by suing the Department of Justice and making a stand and a statement, we were in the New York Times, we were suddenly all over the press and Politico and all these Washington Post.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, Congress members and senators are calling me directly saying, I want direct lines to the songwriters.
Right.
Because we're meeting with all these other organizations like the NMPA, that are the Publishers Trade Association, the RIAA, which is the Record Labels Trade Association, DEMA, which is the trade association for all the digital streaming companies. We're meeting with them, and they also say they're speaking on behalf of songwriters.
Right.
So by reading this whole thing in the New York Times and Washington Post, we realize we need to be talking to you guys directly.
Right.
And there
and the next
you go.
thing you know, we hear our names being mentioned on the floor of Congress, and
I know.
and we're just like, this is insane.
Insane.
But because we, I mean, we're songwriters, but we also, again, want to get an A, and we're from the generation of Schoolhouse Rock, so we're dying to go to Congress. We're dying to go stomp the hall. So we took our little, our membership fee was either like $25 or $50 or something like that, and we took our membership fee, the money that we got from memberships, and bought airline tickets and a couple of hotel rooms for us on Capitol Hill. And went and stomped the halls of Congress, and we went and lobbied ourselves.
Met with all the senators and Congress members.
We learned we learned who the senators and Congress people were who were very active in this space.
Right. We found out it was through the Judiciary Committee that handles IP
legislation.
issues, IP legislation.
And who was against who was against certain
and
legislation.
What was our big aha moment, which we realized that copyright is a Republican issue.
That was great. That was wild. Yeah.
That was wild to learn that the Republicans are all for no regulation.
We're like, yay, Daryl Issa. Yeah. Like,
yay, Doug Collins. Yay,
oh my God,
Jim Jordan.
Doug Collins was like our best friend.
Doug Collins was our best friend.
We need champions like Doug.
Doug Collins is amazing.
In this new Congress.
Yeah, he was a Congress member in Georgia who co-authored our bill, the Music Modernization Act, which at first was called the Songwriter Equity Act, and it couldn't get any steam in Congress. But then once the songwriters sued the Department of Justice and he started talking to us, he literally was like, these are the people in the House that are against it. And they were all our good friends because they were all Democrats.
Yeah, because they were all about
tech.
The billionaire tech bros, and look where that got us.
Look where that got us. And everybody should be able to see it.
Democrats.
Right. So we basically said we could talk to all those Congress members. and we could get them on our side. And Doug Collins was like, really? We go, yeah, we know all them. Jerry Nadler, he's our great
Hakeem
friend.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Nancy
and
Pelosi.
And Doug Collins were like on the floor. Like, didn't they introduce the bill together?
Yeah.
Like, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the great things about music is that it is sort of
It's a bipartisan bill.
bipartisan issue. We've made it a bipartisan bill. And we learned, it was like real time Schoolhouse Rock of how bills are made. Like
Right. It really
learned,
was.
yeah,
Real time Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
And we had a unanimous vote in Congress.
We did. Right.
A unanimous vote.
In
I
Congress.
mean, consider that.
I mean, come on. Even
What?
Mother Teresa only has an
You can't-
80% approval rate.
Has there been a bill passed in Congress
No.
by a unanimous?
No. I don't even think the underage
Vote.
sex trafficking bill had a unanimous vote.
So
I think there was
the
9
Music
nays.
Modernization Act was passed by a unanimous vote in Congress. And we were just like, and they mentioned us, Hakeem
On the
Jeffries
House.
and Doug Collins
And Karen Bass.
and Karen Bass mentioned us by name.
Yeah.
And that was
Incredible.
an unbelievable day.
Yeah. And now, this is our 10-year anniversary of SONA.
It's
Wow.
unbelievable. So we started, the year we marched into your office was 2015. That's when you asked where we bitches had been. And then we sued the Department of Justice the following year. And then we started lobbying for the
I had my
MMA.
neck injury
You
in
had your neck in
2017.
Oh my God, that was
That's when you
awful.
had
Yep.
that's when you and
you, like,
Doug
almost
started
died?
like
He called me at
Yeah,
the rehab place
he
when I
called-
was
right?
Oh my God.
in physical
you and Congressman
therapy.
Collins were on like a constant speed dial.
Yep.
We worked with NMPA and NSAI and the PROs, and that's when all like this sort of
Yep.
like the team kind of assembled of trade associations and stakeholders that were involved in the forming of the MMA. The thing that came out of the MMA was this thing called the Mechanical Licensing Collective,
Yep.
the MLC.
We called it the Sound Exchange for Songs.
We call it Sound Exchange
that's
for
right.
Songs.
Remember?
Exactly.
Overseas and
Because we
collects
said,
and
because Doug said
distributes.
to us, specifically said to me when I was in that hospital, in the rehab, he said, what is it that songwriters need? And I said, you know what we need is we need the fucking record companies to get out of our goddamn business. Because right now, Congressman Collins, the record companies collect the mechanical royalty income from themselves and then pay the publishers and the songwriters. Like, why are they even at the party? They need to go.
Right.
I said, why can't, and I told him, I said, there's an organization called Sound Exchange that collects these performance royalties on behalf of sound recordings for public performance. We need the same thing for songwriters. We need to get rid of that and have a sound exchange for songs.
Yes.
And he's like, whoa, okay, we're talking about this. And I said, also, we need to be able to audit that organization because right now only the very wealthy people can audit. We don't have any money to audit.
Right.
So all of this stuff came in real time.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And also there was the other thing that was happening at the time where there were all these very expensive lawsuits, infringement lawsuits
Right.
against Spotify, against the DSPs.
So the only way you could get right with them was to sue.
was
them.
to sue, and
Which
who
is
had the money to
crazy.
sue? So the NOI thing, all,
Notice of inquiry.
right, all
Yeah.
Oh my God.
DSPs
Yeah.
had to do to get to play something. There was this loophole that they were abusing. Is just to file an
NOI.
Yes,
So
an
basically,
NOI.
so
Yeah.
they defined it different. So in the 1998 Digital Millennium Copyright Act, they specifically talk about the non-interactive
Interactive,
transmissions.
right.
So non-interactive digital streams were websites that were streaming your music. Was at the time Pandora, Sirius XM radio in your car. And these had to pay public performance royalties for the sound recording and also for the musical composition. What they did not anticipate in 1998.
Because the act came out before the invention
Correct.
of the iPod.
Correct.
Right.
So what they didn't envision was these interactive services where the user interacts, making their own playlisting and all that stuff. So none of those services were
Netflix
covered
for
under the
songs.
law. So Spotify was using all your music and not paying because they were taking advantage of a loophole from 1998. So here's the thing that I want to go back to, which is amazing. Kay, specifically you and me, we are two members of the recovery community.
Yes.
I got sober on April 19th, 1998. So
Yep.
you and me,
Yeah.
okay, you and me, two people who cause great pain to people in our lives.
Yes.
And thank God my kids has never seen their mama drink.
That's amazing.
And you had to go through this with your kids.
Yep. Yeah.
And now they know their mama is sober almost 14 years. Your relationship with your children now.
My relationship with poor Michelle, poor long-suffering
Michelle
who had to go through it,
chased you down the street
saying, we're not friends.
because you wouldn't get sober.
Well, because I wouldn't, I got kicked out of they were trying to get me into
Rehab, right?
like a rehab, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that I didn't want to go. It was that I was not. They said this was cry help, and they let anybody in, but they
Right.
said that I needed to be. I was too unstable.
Well, you were, yeah.
And
You
so-
had done like a Hail Mary last drink. Like you had just downed
Yeah.
something of vodka like
Yeah.
right before we like took you there. And they were like,
You can't bring her
can't-
here.
you can't
And
bring
then
her.
I got a 72-hour hold instead because I was running into traffic, and Michelle was like, "Don't what?"
I was chasing her as she was running into traffic.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
So it was
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, this is in retrospect, this is like kind of it's a funny story, but because
your
it's
dog.
so ridiculous.
Your
And-
dog with me.
oh my God, it
Michelle,
was
Mike, it's a
Oh, sorry.
podcast.
so, but it really like Michelle really did go through a lot.
She did.
because we're writing partners. It's a marriage,
Yeah.
and so to have
Chasing you down the
somebody-
street to go to
Yes.
rehab.
Yeah, but in ending up in a 72-hour hold instead.
That's right.
At Glendale
And let me tell you how amazing this is that you and I specifically, because they talk about alcoholism is the only disease that doesn't just kill the person that has it, but kills everybody else in their life. Even cancer doesn't do that. The pain that we cause when we're drinking and using. And here's what I want to say specifically to you, Kay, okay? You have really made such an impact in my life. Like, as a sober woman and the things that we have done with Michelle in sobriety and me growing up, being in law school, listening to Here and Now, that Letters to Cleo is one of my favorite bands. And you are fucking awesome. You were the lead singer of this band and still are. And as a musician, because everybody knows I went to school to be a musician. I was an artist before I became a music lawyer. Okay? Like, you were an idol of mine back then. And the fact that you and I are sitting here today sober
Yeah.
in the 10-year anniversary of Songwriters of North America, and another great story for our viewers. My two kids.
Oh, that's right.
My two kids, okay, Buddy Lee and Wilson Ray, when they were born in 2013, I wanted to get tattoos of them on my arms because I have tattoos because I'm a songwriter and an artist. And I said, Kay, I want to get tattoos on my arms like you have for your kids. And I said, can you make me names of my kids? This is Kay's handwriting on my arm.
That's amazing.
This is your
So,
handwriting,
and
Kay.
we are connected forever. But yours looks so much more beautiful than mine are so faded.
They're
now. I
not,
have to-
Kay. They're hot.
Thanks.
You're fucking.
Thanks, Mommy.
You're an artist, Kay. But
I'm a rebel, Dottie.
you are a rebel dog. But I want to bring this to everybody's attention that God works in these ways. People come into your life for a different reason.
Yeah.
You never know. It's about the canoe.
Yeah.
Get in the canoe. And if your life is going great and you're on a stream, like we're suing the Department of Justice and meeting with songwriters and doing these things, this was about us. Like, what was our greater gift? We didn't know what we were doing back then.
The greatest gift of recovery is the ability to show up. Like I don't when I don't have the ability to show up, at least not consistently. And even in the case of the decision on, suing the Department of Justice, even though I disagreed, I still showed up every single time.
Yes, you
I
did.
didn't take my ball and go home.
That's
It's
right.
like I wanted to be part of the conversation. I wanted my voice to be heard. and I wanted the best thing for our organization to happen. So,
and you even agreed to be in the middle in our picture for the New York Times. So on our 10-year anniversary,
I'm a worker among workers, Dina.
You are amazing. And
Thank you,
The
Dina,
three
you
of us are amazing.
We are.
We've pulled off a lot.
So
Thank
our
you for
10-year
saying
anniversary, and I just want to tell you, on October 6th is our annual Warrior Awards.
Actually, October 12th.
October 12th is our annual Warrior Awards
This is
at
our
the
big
Skirball.
gala.
It's our big-ass gala. It's so exciting, the things that we have planned. And also, moving forward, all of you need to know who SONA is. You could go to at Instagram at @WeAreSONA_, and we also have a 501c3
Called the SONA Foundation.
the SONA Foundation, which Kay runs,
So I've left the board of SONA proper. A couple of years ago, when my seat was turning over, I decided not to run for it, and I moved over to the foundation, which is eventually, we were talking about like the decision to form a C6. Years and years later, when the pandemic happened, we needed to start a C3 in order to, we got a big gift from Sony, from Big John
Publishing,
at Sony Music Publishing. And he just gave us a bunch of money and said, give it to songwriters.
So we help
and we were like,
songwriters.
oh my God. But we had no mechanism to
Right.
do that. So we started a C3 so that we could do
Give
emergency grants to...
And we were very involved in the COVID relief legislation, working
Right.
with Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi during the pandemic
Yep.
Yep.
to get songwriters
Get
and
independent
all independent contractors
Yes.
to get these federal
COVID relief.
benefits.
Yeah.
Right. So
And that was one of
that
our
was
big things.
really, really incredibly important.
Yeah.
We were positioned perfectly to be able to
Right.
just like run to that fire when it happened. I
Right.
mean, not just, in the grants, but like we also like we knew how to like get Zoom meetings up and running
Right.
really fast. So like we had like community meetings so that
Right.
people still felt connected.
Mhm.
And then we did something that I never in a million years thought that SONA would ever do, which was like open mics
Oh,
on
Oh,
Zoom.
yeah.
And
uh-huh.
it was just,
Yeah.
but it was like people just loved it so much.
Coming
People really
together.
needed it. And so even stuff that we, like that period of time really transformed us and kind of changed, I think, I think it really warmed us up because
Yeah.
up until then we had been very much about like legislation and the
Advocacy.
fights and the this and the that. And all of a sudden we were in a position to
community.
help our community
Yes.
in a different way.
Yeah.
And now we do stuff for mental health.
Yep.
We're doing stuff for the LA fire, people that
For
were
fire
harmed in
relief.
the
Yeah.
fire relief and the. So, I mean, it's incredible
Yeah.
that this has happened.
Yeah, we were really focused on the job, on saving the job, I think, at the beginning. And then as it grew, the growth means like not just saving the job, but like also attending the human that does the job, like really helping create a community and a safety net and services. Like
Like a songwriter who has access to therapy is going to write some
That's
bitchin'
right.
ass songs.
And also,
Absolutely.
we have access to rehabilitation facilities now through the Neil Lasher Music Fund.
Right.
Anybody
Are you
that's
going to that?
yes, I'm on the board.
I know, that's right.
So the Neil Lasher Music
You're on the board
Fund.
of everything.
We
There's
do
so
a
many
lot with
boards.
SONA. So any songwriter, any music artist that has addiction problems, reach out to anybody at SONA.
Yes.
Yep.
Reach out to me. Reach
the
out to Michelle.
foundation.
What's your Instagram, Michelle?
at MLewey, at MLEWEY.
Okay.
At Kay Hanley on
Re-
Blue Sky and Instagram.
Same.
Yeah. Reach out to all of us. We can help. We're here to help. Helping others, we help ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's always going to be a fight for songwriters to be treated equitably within the music industry. So
right.
we just can't.
And now we have a seat at the motherfucking table.
They're
At the
table.
motherfucking table, bitch.
Exactly.
Okay. This is Dina LaPolt. You are in the Stiletto Room, and we are with Michelle Lewis and Kay Hanley, and we say peace out, bitches.
Bye.
My stiletto